In the name, love, wisdom, and power of the eternal, immortal, all-wise, invisible God, I bring to you the greetings of the great ascended hosts in their supreme majesty and beauty and perfection. O blessed ones of earth, the light of God surrounds you, the light of God is within you, the light of God is perfection eternal. Within the sacred precincts of this light, all is hallowed within you, and all is godly, and all is divine, and all is sheer beauty. This is no vapory idea arising from the concepts of mortal men. It is the eternal perfection of the invisible spheres, made manifest among mankind for the magnification of life's eternal perfection. I am the perfection of life. I am the immortality which dwells within these mortal bodies. I am the victory that, pearl-like and iridescent, shines forth its sparkling radiance through your bodies and physical forms, producing and sustaining such perfection as will enable you to walk the earth with robes of divine righteousness, shining as the sun in its strength, that you may come to a place in your spiritual development and evolvement where, ladies and gentlemen, you may know the meaning of I am. When you know the meaning of I am, you will behave in the perfection of your own I am presence. You will express it at all times, and there will not be one moment when you will fall short of this high mark of perfection. Mankind have given power to lesser states of consciousness, and therefore they express a partial state of perfection and a partial state of illusion. When the hour comes, when the Son of God, the eternal radiance within them, is given the dominion over all that is within their world, they will become victorious manifestations of the perfection of God. Then the octaves of heaven, the beauty of heaven, the sphere of heaven will be made external, and you will rejoice in the unity of your own perfection. This nation, America, was brought forth to be an ascended master nation, to bring to the world an example of perfection. I am saying to you tonight, look and learn. Look and learn, mankind, and pause to consider as to whether or not this nation under God has lived up to the high hopes and aspirations of the ascended masters. Ask yourself this question tonight as to whether or not this nation has measured up to its great destiny. Ensconced today in a position of high honor among the nations, irregardless of those who would speak disparagingly of this great nation, this country under God stands as representing a citadel of freedom to the earth. Mankind who have vested in lesser instruments their puny ideas of perfection have fallen short of their own God magnificence. And this is reflected in the laxity within the laws of this nation and within the hearts of those who administer those laws. They have thought that it did not matter. They have thought that they could escape by doing in secret those things which shall eventually be proclaimed from the housetops. The scandalous operations which have taken place within the framework of government in all the nations of the world is a shame to the world. And I hope that the people of this nation and the people of every nation upon earth, even those who have open hearts and a consciousness which is attuned to their own mighty I am presence, will make calls as never before to light, for the perfection of light to blaze down over the consciousness of the legislators of this nation and those who administer its laws, its minor officials as well as its major officials, until the people of America shall so express the beauty and perfection of God as to give a tiny babe in arms confidence in those leaders, that they may follow that good example which shall make of this nation under God a mighty nation of ascended master leaders. I am confident that when this nation under God shall bring forth beauty and perfection in its legislative and administrative bodies, that it will evoke a response in the hearts of its peoples, which will cause this flag to be honored as an eternal symbol of beauty and perfection among all the nations of the world. Spontaneously this will arise from their hearts, and it will sweep as a conflagration in the name of liberty, a fire of liberty that shall blaze across the earth and cause all the earth to be loved free by the power of the cave of symbols, wherein I stand tonight to declare that the destiny of America is an eternal destiny, and the destiny of America is locked in the hearts of its people, and it must be released. Shall it take a stronger compulsion than atomic energy or dynamite to cause it to come forth? Then I say, in the name of God, let us evoke an eternal fiat from heaven itself to cause the youth of this country to change from the moral degradation which has seized upon them, whereby each one seeks its own, and hardly any among them seek the truth of God, and let them turn as never before to an understanding of their own mighty I Am presence. But I say to you, unless those who are the elder in this nation shall set an example before the younger, how can the younger of this nation be expected to follow a good example, seeing one is not set before them? The challenges today and even before today issued forth by life itself to the hearts of this people, to the hearts of the parents, and to the hearts of all. For all are responsible jointly for their destiny and their joint destiny under God. Very shortly, blessed ones, you shall be celebrating the nativity of the beloved ascended Jesus Christ. In high honor to this great and magnificent life stream, I come to you today to say that the Christ consciousness expanded without limit is the hope of America and the hope of the world. Vested in those Christ robes of righteousness, mankind may walk the earth and escape completely from all those brothers of the shadow and hordes of darkness and the accumulation of the sinister force, the human effluvia, and the sting of the scorpion and the adder. Mankind shall escape, and they shall be free from the sting of death. They shall be free from the sting of ill health. They shall be free from mental and spiritual tortures which they have imposed upon themselves to misunderstanding the law. And then, in the great glory of life itself, they shall come to see their own God presence completely face to face, and they shall completely express that vision which is theirs to see. This I declare to you tonight, for all around you while I am speaking, the angelic host have woven a magnificent crystal canopy over the sanctuary. This crystal canopy somewhat resembles an igloo, such as the Eskimos inhabit in the polar regions. The difference here is that it is made of ascended master light substance, and while I am speaking to you, those blessed builders of form and the devas are coming from near and far to build this beautiful crystalline sanctuary over this building. And this particular gift is to be given to you this year here in Boston to last all through the Christmas season and to radiate ascended master light and love out to all of the people in this city and state and nation. This I declare in the name of God. It is a protection, and those of you who choose to accept this protection may envision a crystal helmet of ascended Master Light Substance over your own head to protect you from those tramp thoughts which the world at large today in their ignorance are releasing into the atmosphere. Far worse than those creatures which wing forth from Pandora's box are these images which cause mankind to perform all manner of depredations against one another and cause them to live in a world of unhappiness. Blessed ones, protect yourselves then by calling to your own God presence and asking that that God presence shall by its own power invoke in light's name a crystalline helmet of light and perfection over your foreheads, over your faces, and around your form down to the shoulders, to completely insulate your head and your mentality from all that is not of the pure Christ light. By invoking these particular specific gifts and graces from the Ascended Master's octave, you will find, ladies and gentlemen, a tangible protection is yours which no man can take from you. Oh, I am so well aware that the mankind of earth may say, who is this that is speaking? Who has this authority? Well, I am the divine director, and I think that I have the authority vested in me by God to make this statement, and I believe that the powers of light and light's perfection will obey me. I have never known any time since I have made my ascension when the victory of light would not respond instantly at my call. And I think that if this is that which you aspire to, then you should also allow me to have that same power and perfection, seeing many centuries have passed by since my ascension, and I have been invested by Almighty God with greater and greater power by His precious light and life. Now then, I come to you tonight to share this life and light with you and to break bread with you in the Holy Communion of the Spirit of life and light and love. This life, light, and love I am spreading abroad throughout the earth. I do not expect that you shall hide this under a bushel of your own being. I expect that you shall radiate it to all with whom you come in contact. You, blessed ones, are electrodes, glowing now, I hope, with the life and the light and the love of our octave. And as you glow, you will somewhat resemble these magnificent Christmas tree bulbs and wreaths which sparkle hither and yon throughout the land at this particular moment. And more of them shall be made manifest as the days draw near when the celebration of the Christ Mass occurs. Blessed ones, will you then be lacking in the sparkle of the Holy Spirit? Will you then be lacking in expressing the beauty of your own life's perfection? I think not. For if mankind can array themselves with tinsel and decorations, and can array their homes with these decorations, I think then that mankind should rejoice in the power that they have to vest themselves, their own beings, with the power of light and with the radiance of light. Therefore, as you meet mankind upon the street, in the highways and byways of life, let this helmet be a protection to you, but send out from your heart a ray of light in the name of the cosmic Christ, and let that ray of light be a blessing to your brother that you meet or your sister that you meet, and thus shall the kingdom of God find its borders expanded, but because you are about your Father's business. Your Father's business is to express the perfection of light everywhere, for your Father is light. You are children of light, and as children of light you must express in kind. I am therefore charging into you tonight a dominant vibration of love, a dominant vibration of power, a dominant vibration of wisdom that shall, if you will permit it, express through you so as to take its toll of all that is evil or untoward within your nature and cause you to express by the power of God, the illumination of God and the love of God, all the beauty and perfection which is your own rightful birthright. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when energy becomes frozen, and that energy which is frozen is not an asset to your being, would it not be ever so wise to melt it by the power of divine love? Would it not be ever so wise to destroy by the power of divine love, by the flame of Christ's love, this frozen energy, and set it free, that it may leap with joy to find its way back into the heart of the eternal from whence it came, to come forth in more magnificent and glorious forms, made new by the power of the Holy Spirit. Release then that energy which has not served to glorify the God within you, and in its place invoke afresh the kingdom of the Christ, the light of the Christ, and requalify that energy with all the glory of the ascended Master's octave, and observe how you grow in grace and the knowledge of the Christ. Observe how the mass of the Christ light within your own heart expands until you, as a glowing being, prepare yourselves mightily for your ascension. I am releasing tonight the odor of roses throughout this building. In the name of God, the mighty I Am presence, I ask the angels of the sacred fire to pour the odor of roses throughout this place, that all whose senses are opened up to the spiritual may be able to sense a purifying action. It is done. Accept then our benediction. Accept our benediction in light. And know that when you speak, saying, I am, God has spoken within you. I thank you and I bless you with the love of God, with the Spirit of the Christ, that during this season you may grow mightily in accepting the offering of the angelic hosts and being vested with their power to sustain all of the good feelings of God. This is your eternal portion. I thank you. Good night. Beloved great divine director and friends of freedom, I salute you in the name of victory. In the name of God, I salute you this day. Did you know, blessed ones of Boston, that God's name is victory, and that I am his namesake? Does this not give you then a pressure to realize that it is the intention and the purpose of eternity that each of you shall have the breath of freedom, and that the breath of freedom which you have shall embody within it the qualities and the characteristics of victory? With each breath you draw, if you will so qualify it, ladies and gentlemen, you can accept victory into your world. When you call forth your breath from the atmosphere, you say this is a simple process which goes on quite automatically. True, but ladies and gentlemen, if you will call forth victory in that breath and say to your own God presence, mighty God presence and beloved victory, flood your sense of cosmic victory into my being as I accept these elements, you will realize that you are imbibing at the fountain of life, which is the fountain of victory. Every ascended being has breathed of the atmosphere of earth. They have utilized the atoms of energy, the atoms of oxygen and hydrogen which enter your nostrils were breathed in times past by them and by myself. Therefore, if you will extract from those atoms the great qualities of God victory, you must do so by conscious God design and intent. I do not propose, ladies and gentlemen, that you shall police each breath which you draw, and that you shall stand and say, now I am breathing in victory. But I do propose that at various times during the day when you think of it, you shall consciously qualify the breath with victory and extract from it that life-giving essence which, like an infusion or transfusion of new blood, or like the reception of atoms of energy, such as manifests in vitamins, you shall receive a great transfusing power of cosmic victory, and therefore this impetus will move you forward to overcome some of the vicissitudes of life which presently distress you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so well aware of the momentum of victory that it is somewhat difficult for me to behold the sea of troubles which I understand mankind are surrounded with. Now, if you were to enter into my state of divine consciousness, you too would be somewhat unaware of the sea of troubles which surrounds mankind. Mankind then might tend to look upon you as one without compassion. Ladies and gentlemen, is it a compassionate thing to perpetuate an earth which is suffering and in pain and in misery? Is it a compassionate thing to perpetuate life when that life is in great distress? Is it not far more kind to elevate that life into a sense of its God-intended victory and its God-intended freedom? Individuals in a sense of human sympathy have often gone astray, and the contracting of ties which they have made in life have caused them to feel great sorrow for members of their own family and their friends and their loved ones. I would like to point out that all of you have a Heavenly Father, and that this great Heavenly Father has the greatest compassion which you could conceive of, and yet He Himself, by His great laws, moves the universe on in the pathway of love, apparently oblivious of those who are in great distress simply because they have accepted a human momentum and the pressure of that human momentum. It is true that they are presently in ignorance, but ladies and gentlemen, they were not always so. For there was a time in Atlantis and in Lemuria and in past ages when these same life streams who now presently seem to be so ignorant were quite learned. They had the same opportunities which you have to sit in the temples and to sit in temples of wisdom, and they sat at the feet of many of those same beings today who are the ascended masters, and they heard through their lips a service of great light, and yet went out into the world of form and gave and rendered disobedience to the great law. The reason then that they are not manifesting victory is strictly at their own doorstep, and it is up to them as individuals to realize this, and no power of the ascended host or the angelic host can change those conditions. Blessed ones, when you behold a beautiful flower breathing forth its essence of God victory into space, you realize that it is not a weed. A weed today can but produce after its kind. But how many of you know that all of the weeds in existence upon earth were at one time beautiful flowers? God victory is a holding to the conscious design by individuals and the acceptance of God's great light into their worlds, just the same as there is a flow of the great currents of life through the nerves and through the cells of the body, until that body, glowing with its manifest perfection, which you call good health, manifests spiritually as God victory. Can you understand, blessed ones, that victory is a manifestation of the perfect plan for each life stream? That is victory, because it is the image of God. I am in the image of God. I am in the image of God. I am in the image of God. And you were created in that same image of God victory, if you will accept it. Upon the rolling planet Venus today, there is a great cosmic manifestation of light, and a pulsating light ray from the beloved Lady Venus and Sanat Kumara is shining down upon the earth and anchoring itself right here over this force field to transmit from that planet the vibrations of those dignitaries of the great white brotherhood who are assembled there today, assembled there to greet the earth, this sister planet and home of love. For such do we see the earth as. We see the earth as a home of love, contemporary with our own world. The fact that the world does not hold an immaculate concept for itself does not interfere with our concept of victory for the earth. We are not subjecting ourselves to the infliction upon our consciousness of human discord. We refuse absolutely to accept it. We will not have in our world, we will not accept upon our planet, we will not accept in our octave the discordant vibrations of disunity and disharmony and confusion which the earth insists on manifesting. We instead, in its place, accept God's victory because it is a natural outpouring of heaven. And we are so happy and so delighted to see individuals here who will accept the pressure and momentum and the joy of God which manifests in your midst today, and which tangibly manifests in my consciousness always, in all directions. For my body today is taken on a spherical form, and like a great luminous pole, I am radiating out from the center of this sphere pulsations of victory around the world, to give mankind a sense of victory over every human condition and every situation which at times causes individuals to feel as if they might go down in defeat. Blessed ones, you will never go down in defeat if you will accept the pressure of your own I am presence. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. I am that light of victory. And you are too, blessed ones, if you will only accept it and be free. Individuals have not realized how mighty the armies of heaven are in contrast to the earth. They have looked upon the great preparations for war. They have looked at the power of the spies. They have looked at the power of the outer world in the monetary marts of the world, and they have said, this is overwhelming. Let them come for a moment into our octave and see the power of heaven in demonstration. Their finite and puny consciousness, by contrast, is less than a penny candle to the sun. Oh, blessed and beloved ones, come then into a sense of your cosmic victory and realize that such a manifestation is a vestment of true glory. It is not to be compared with the physical garments which you wear. Our sense of cosmic victory is so glorious that I tell you, even the lilies are not arrayed like the glory of our cosmic victory. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, do not let the temporary vicissitudes of the outer world and the disturbing vibratory actions of the world rob you of your God peace, or of your opportunities for service, or of your opportunities for spiritual progress in the great white brotherhood. This is an august body. It is an actual governing body for the entire planet Earth. Beloved Virgo honors and respects and accepts the great emissaries of the great white brotherhood with an eternal garland of beauty the world around. Wherever there is spring, the spirit of Amaryllis trips forth and brings a sense of divine radiance in welcome to the emissaries of the great white brotherhood and in honor to the Lord the Mahachohan, the Holy Spirit. Oh, blessed ones, the great divine director has given you so many wonderful thoughts preceding my talk to you today. And I said to myself, he has stolen much of my thunder, and yet, because I have lightning left, I give you the lightning of cosmic victory. Will you accept that lightning, blessed ones, and realize that it is a tangible gift and not merely the utterance of this messenger? Will you accept and realize that this is a gift of mighty victory coming from the planet Venus? Will you accept that I have the power and capacity to create a form exactly as depicted in the pictures of me? Will you also accept that I have the power and capacity to take on a spherical form and be a great radiant point and concentration of God victory? Do you realize, blessed ones, that when you reach our state of consciousness, you are not so concerned with the form as with the quality and manifestation of the thoughts, the feelings, the heart, the being, the existence, the consciousness of your own identity? I am, you see, a part of God. I am all of God in one sense, and I am a part in another, because I too was given the gift of individual life. And this is the beauty of heaven. Every one of you are facets of God, facets of the divine jewel, the sacred jewel in the heart of the lotus of creation. The lotus of creation intended to be the sacred chalice into which the Spirit was poured as a divine essence and flame. Upon our planet, the law of the flame is taught. We hope that individuals receiving the Keepers of the Flame instructions through the Summit Lighthouse will realize that they are given a priceless jewel which they themselves are required to polish. It is up to them to externalize the beauty that is crystallized within their own nature, and yet at times is covered over with human effluvia and distress. They must scrape off the barnacles that they may be able to sail across the great sea of human confusion into the great calm of Christ's peace and God victory. And when they come to our great home of light, they will realize that it is worth every effort and far more. If it required 1,000,000 years to achieve, it would be worth it. And if it required 10,000,000 years to achieve, it would still be worth it. The fact that you can in so short a time as less than one lifetime receive your eternal freedom is breathtaking. It is phenomenal. It is outstanding. You do not realize unless you think of it what a transcendent opportunity is yours. I know, for I read the cosmic record of the great pain and the length of suffering which occurred in some systems of worlds in order to achieve what you, blessed people of earth, because of our gifts, are able to achieve far more easily. Oh, blessed ones, do not think that the outer conditions of the outer mind have any power. They have no power except that which you give to them. And when you shall instead give to us the dominion in your world, you will achieve a sense of our pulsating God victory, and you will know that freedom in God's name is the destiny of every child who first utters its tender cry when it first comes forth and is placed in the arms of its mother. You, blessed ones, are destined by the cosmic mother of all life to be gods over your own universe, to be gods victorious over all your affairs, to join the universal chorus on an equality basis where you with the other sons of heaven come together. The Father has not intended to have a race of slaves or serfs, but has intended instead to create those who are equal in stature to the highest outpourings of the great God flame of life as it pulsates forth in the great central sun from the heart of Alpha and Omega. The solar altars, the altars of Venus, they are all dedicated to the name of God, I am, to eternal being, to the great unfailing light of God. The distress call of the great white brotherhood upon this planet, the light of God never fails, the light of God never fails, the light of God never fails, spoken 3 times, is a fire of greeting in our own world. And to us it has a different meaning. It calls us to a great spirit of concord and rejoicing. And when we hear it here, we come to assist you and give you our momentum of peace, our momentum of victory, our momentum of love, to remove from you the discordant elements of your nature, to say to the waves of human selfishness, peace, be still, and to restore divine harmony wherever it exists not, and in its place to give God victory, the peace of the cosmic Christ. I thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Most High, the great God flame almighty pulsating within your worlds, your minds, and your affairs is as much a part of God's heart as is the flame of my own life. I come to you today by the great power of the blue ray. I come to you bringing the great jeweled and sacred heart that I wear, and causing its dazzling transcendent rays to pulsate and pour forth in your midst, that you may feel the pressure and the love and the compassion of God's heart for all of his creation. You, ladies and gentlemen, are individual expressions of God. Across this planet and the world around are millions and millions of life streams born to the same hope which you have, and yet not aware of the great opportunities which life holds in store for them. Many of them, unless there is a change in the present momentum of conditions, will go down and lose the particular life which beats their heart in this embodiment without ever hearing the words of the ascended masters, or understanding where their great God presence is, or understanding how they can contact it, or understanding the great transcendent powers of its light rays. These individuals are as much a part of God as you are, and yet they are hungry for the bread of heaven. They await the coming then into manifestation of that era of God perfection, which shall enable such spiritual harmony to be spread abroad across the face of the great rolling earth, that mankind shall no longer live in a spirit of disunity, but in great cosmic concord from the temples of concord, and the temples of light, and the temples of God illumination shall be able to work in the harmony of heaven down in the octave of earth. Blessed and beloved ones, the radiance of the Most High encompasses your sanctuary around today with love, with a love which is tangible and real, for it floods forth from my heart. I am called the great divine director, not because of the particular authority which I myself have desired to express, but because of the divine confidence which my own being, the great power of light in the great central sun, desires to express through me, and I have given myself gladly, with the full acceptance of my being, to that will of God which is made known. Blessed Moria, my son, embodies for this planet the great power of the will of God made manifest. Countless individuals the world around, in their ignorance and lack of divine understanding, accept every day conditions which are so far below the standards of heaven that they are pitiful. They are down to the level far below the ant, and yet these individuals accept these pressures as being a natural and God-intended situation. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, conditions upon earth can only change as mankind accept the pressure and the light and the radiance of the ascended masters. As long as individuals shall vacillate between the human consciousness and the consciousness of the ascended masters, they cannot expect to produce the perfection of our octave. When individuals abort the plans of God before they come to fruition, it is impossible that they shall receive the fullness of the light. Blessed ones, remember the words concerning the coming forth of the beloved Lord Jesus. The beloved Lord Jesus came forth when the fullness of the time was come. When the fullness of the time was come, this great Prince of Peace, this wondrous manifestation of God's light, came forth into cosmic manifestation, and his beauty and his radiance shone as a star of wonder in Judean skies. And the shepherds were happy and felt the great pulse of cosmic rejoicing, and the wise men of the east came to worship him in the humble manger. Blessed and beloved ones, this earth is filled with God's radiance. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Accept therefore the great opportunity which you have, people of Boston this day and people of the world, to be manifestations of the cosmic Christ. The fullness of time has come, ladies and gentlemen, when mankind will open the doors of their heart to understanding, when mankind will understand the meaning of truth and will cease to prate about those things, but will actually determine to live according to the highest precepts. The precepts of God truth are the fullness of beauty. When our Lord the Mahachohan descends among you with the great flaming white dove of his radiance, I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, do you think this is a mere ephemeral symbol? Do you think this is a simple outpouring of the portrayal of some human artist? Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, it is the great manifestation of the architect of the universe. It is the manifestation of God's perfection, the descending dove of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, not the portion, but all of God made manifest for you, which you can enter into by the flaming power of your acceptance. When the lightning strikes the earth, do you understand that a sheath first arises from that pole, which is the earth, to ascend toward the sky? And then there is another enfolding sheath of lightning which comes down to reach out like two clasped hands. Blessed ones, it is necessary for you to have the pressure of acceptance of divinity if you are to manifest it. For unless it be by your free wills, you have not prospered. To prosper in divinity, you must accept the pressure of the light. And you must understand that this must be an act of your conscious will. It is not the intent of heaven, nor never was, to force individuals into a confinement of the law. The law, of course, marches on by the great pressure of the cosmic light, and those who violate it must pay the penalty, and there is no power in heaven or earth that is able to stay it or set it aside. The karmic board on certain occasions by special dispensations have given individuals opportunity whereby the great law was stayed in its cosmic action in order to enable them to perform some specific service. This is a rare occasion and does not happen often or by chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I enfold you now in a stepping up of my radiance. I have desired this day to produce a cosmic heat and increase a certain pressure of temperature within your physical forms in order to perform a special service whereby transmutation will occur of certain of the baser elements which are in your nature. These elements are in your nature only because of the fact that you have accepted them from mankind. And they have been contacted by you because they are contagious. And because they are contagious, you have accepted them, and you must not continue to do so. When this transmutation is performed and completed, I anticipate that as a pure flower, you will understand that it is your responsibility, if you will accept it, to radiate the purity of the light and to be cosmic Christ in action. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, your victory is at hand when you will accept it. You are more the determining factor than you realize. You hold your own life and death within your own hands. It lies as a gift within your hand. You, ladies and gentlemen, by conscious determination can determine to be God in manifestation. And when you make that determination strong enough, there is no power in the universe that can stop it from bursting into manifestation, and you are encompassed around about this day by a mighty cloud of witnesses to that effect, spiritual and cosmic beings, beings of transcendent light, whose garments are a tangible reality, and they are not sculptured or sewn or cut by human hands. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege now to introduce one who comes with me, one whose radiance is above the earth, high, 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 and wondrous to behold. I bring with me today from the planet Venus that mighty being, mighty victory, and I introduce him now and take my leave of you with my benediction. I have been shorter today than usual in order to give victory the opportunity of giving you his radiation. In the name of God, the mighty I Am Presence, I, the great divine director, introduce to you one who loves you with an infinite compassion, for your freedom and your peace. Mighty victory! Hail, O blessed people of Boston. I, Chananda, greet you with the enfolding love of your own God presence in the peace of the great white brotherhood and the consciousness of the eternal. Blessed ladies and gentlemen, your bodies were intended to be indestructible. They were not intended to be destroyed, nor were they intended to harbor illness, resentment, or a host of the ills which mankind are prone to acknowledge as their own, when in reality all of these conditions are no part of that infinite light of which the consciousness of mankind is composed at inner levels. You, blessed ones, are eternal because you have a consciousness of God. God is eternal, and it is the consciousness of good, the consciousness of God, which can never fail, which can never be changed. It is the same yesterday, It is the same today, and it will be the same forever. Therefore, blessed ladies and gentlemen, you see it is indestructible. And it is this indestructible energy to which you must give your attention. Unfortunately, mankind, through the ages, have paid allegiance to lesser gods, made in the image of death. They have failed to understand life, and in compromising the divine intent, they cease to be immortal, godly beings, but they become stripped of their divinity, shipwrecked upon the shores of human consciousness, and spineless, as it were, before God. Straighten then your spines, ladies and gentlemen. Do not slump, but sit up in the full dignity of your God estate, and know that you must claim your own. If you are to receive the inheritance of your divinity, it must be because you, who have entered into a human state of consciousness, have turned your back then upon the consciousness of God, must once again reorientate yourselves and face the light. You have heard it said, stand, face, and conquer. And I say unto you that when you begin to determine within yourselves that you will stand, face, and conquer all negative conditions whatsoever, half of the battle is won. The other half is in the carrying out of the mandate which you elect yourselves to do. Do you see? And therefore it becomes essential that individuals shall fix within their consciousness the spiritual ambitions humbly implanted within their consciousness by the inflowing light of God, the will of the cosmic purpose in cosmic manifestation. When this inflowing light begins to blaze forth the immortal image of God within you, it is like a seed planted in the heart of the earth. The difference, however, here is that this is a seed immortal. And as it expands, it plants firmly within your consciousness and anchors there the immortality of God, so that in this divine sense you no longer have the fears of ceasing to be. How can life cease to be when life is God? How can life cease to ever be when life is love? And when life is charged with the vibratory action of love, I think of a truth, that illness and pain must vanish before love. Love is the mandate of God. It is the power of life speaking perfection into being and causing it to leap like a young hart or like a deer in the woods, to run with the wind in absolute freedom in the Himalayan mountains near the retreat of beloved Moria. We of the Great Brotherhood, occasionally in taking our walks through the woods and holding gentle communion with the beloved Kuthumi and others of the ascended host, remark often about the fleetness of the deer in the mountains. And we are often rejoicing as we see them leap in happiness. There is not so much destruction that takes place in this area where we are dwelling as in America, where men are constantly pursuing these lovely creatures as game to fall before the swift arrow or before the weapons fashioned by mankind. But blessed and beloved ones, I must return to the idea of the symmetry and the beauty and the fleetness of these lovely creatures. You must let the flow of divine happiness then leap into action in your worlds and in your bodies, so that the cells of your bodies, the electrons and the energies of your bodies, obey the eternal fiat within you to manifest God perfection and know no fear or discord. Blessed and beloved ones, half of the anemic and sickly people of the world today are anemic and sickly because they have concentrated on their flesh as though the life emanated from their flesh, when the life emanates from God, the life emanates from their great God source, and it is not generated in the flesh, it is generated in the Spirit, and it is by the Spirit that life comes into manifestation, and it is the soul and the sole purposes of the eternal that control the form of man and control the consciousness of man. And when this energy is in command of the divine presence, then know, blessed and beloved ones, that the resurrection spirit of the ascended Jesus Christ is in preeminence in that life stream. And there is not the activity of death, the activity of fear, the activity of torment, the activity of delusion in action, but there is the activity of the cosmic purpose moving in the physical body and producing its perfection in that world. And that perfection will manifest because it is in the heart and the being and the life source. And the doorways into consciousness are consciously opened. Oh, the blessed and beloved Christian scientists and others throughout the world who understand the metaphysical laws of life, they have touched upon these subjects, but they do not fully realize all of the great floodgates that can be released when the fullness of the ascended Master's law is known and understood by mankind, so much so that there is no barrier between the immortal consciousness of the individual and the outer. When the barriers are removed, being completely burned away by the sacred fire, then you see, blessed and beloved ones, the energy of heaven is able to flow through into the octave of earth. And the great spiritual works that have taken place in the life streams of the great men like Beethoven and Bach and other musicians, and the works of the Rembrandts and the Raphaels and the Leonardo da Vinci's of the world, can take place in many life streams and manifest in more perfect lives, in a higher culture, in a more beauteous civilization. Ladies and gentlemen, America was conceived in the heart of the ascended masters, and the world little notes at this time nor long remembers the services of your beloved Saint Germain, who in the holy name of freedom initiated that sacred action that cut America free and independent to worship God and to be an ascended master nation. The services of Lafayette, and I refer to General Lafayette, the services of Rochambeau, the gift of the Statue of Liberty, and all of the wonderful shrines of freedom, the Liberty Bell, and all the blessings which America enjoys as a cup of light and an ascended master nation are by the grace of God. The starry flag unfurled now with 50 stars is symbolical of 50 shining orbs of light on the blue field of the divine will. All men are intended to be pulsating centers of light in this ascended master nation, and all women are intended to be cosmic mothers, loving and loving and loving and loving the earth free, and spreading abroad the gospel of love that does not know defeat, that refuses the acceptance of a lesser role. I am standing now in the hall of beloved El Moria's retreat in Darjeeling and speaking through this messenger by projected consciousness. There are times that we speak in the full presence of our being. Tonight I am projecting a mighty light ray, bridging the mountains, the oceans, and the seas, and entering in and focusing here in the heart of Boston to bless those lovers of freedom. For I think that of a truth There are here in this city some descendants of those early patriots who participated in the Boston Tea Party long ago. And those individuals, although they may not be hearing my voice or realizing in their outer consciousness that I am speaking, will feel within them the pulsation of the newly fired inspiration toward God freedom that originally set this great nation free. The survival of America is important to the world, for as America survives, and the citadel of freedom that is America survives, so survives the democratic principles that enshrine the four freedoms, the sacred tenets of the great white brotherhood, are enshrined in the hearts of America and in the hearts of its people. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of this nation is intended to be a pledge to the mighty I Am Presence. It is to honor God. Our India, beauteous and radiant and lovely, a nation teeming with a pulsating movement of the multitudes, is a blessed nation in which is enshrined the idea of love, of seeking for understanding. And yet there is great poverty and great oppression in this nation of India. And so I am interested tonight in telling you that balance must come to the world, because the people of the world call for it. Without the call for balance, how can it manifest? But with the call, how can it fail to manifest? For the call, in truth, does compel the answer. Long ago, in the days of Daniel, in the days of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, these three were cast into the fiery furnace that was made exceedingly hot, insomuch so that the men who cast them into the fiery furnace were smitten with the heat. And yet, from the fiery furnace, these three men emerged without so much as the smell of smoke upon their garments. Mankind today must realize in their consciousness that with God all things are possible. For thousands of years, yea, for millions of years, individuals have builded limitation into their consciousness, and this limitation includes limitation personally as well as nationally. And in a politically scientific sense, the world says it cannot be done. The munition makers of the world assert their nonsense before mankind, and they declare that war is inevitable. If war is inevitable, then I am sure that the Prince of Peace could never bring and establish the kingdom of God upon this earth. And if the kingdom of divine invincibility could not be established upon this earth, how could the plan ever outpicture itself, or how could there be a fulfillment of the divine purpose? Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it said that individuals believed a lie, and because they believed a lie, they were cursed by the lie which they believed. And this is always the truth. When individuals accept the power of an illusion or a delusion in their consciousness, it becomes the ruler of that individual until they divest themselves of that nonsense. And when they divest themselves of that nonsense, they begin to breathe the sacred air of freedom, and not before. Individuals think sometimes that we are stern, but it is our love for you that causes us to assert into your consciousness the authority of God. The authority of God is the power, and the only power that shall ever make you free. If then you shall give your energy for a lesser purpose, you cannot inherit the kingdom. You cannot be a part of the immortal consciousness which you are intended to be a part of. As I am speaking to you now, I am calling and invoking to the sacred devas of the sacred fire. And I am calling now to beloved Prince Orameses, the prince of the fiery element. And I ask Orameses to send over this ray and transmit into this place the power of the sacred fire and the sacred fire angels. And I ask that the energy of the sacred fire angels shall cut the individuals present in this meeting free from the discord of the ages, and shall blaze and blaze and blaze and blaze and blaze and blaze and blaze through them until they are completely free of all the misqualified energy which they have used and which they have permitted to use their life in all times past. And if they will accept it and anchor it in their world, then simply because they have been participants in this meeting tonight, they shall receive a freedom which they have not known before, and they will find that they are able to live constructively from this night forward. But if they shall not anchor my call in their world, and shall think that I have not spoken, how can the light then take effect? The light, in order to take effect, must consciously be acting in their world, do you see? And therefore, you blessed and beloved ones must open the doors of your consciousness to the light itself and call for that light to anchor within your being and establish itself there. It is already there. It is simply for you to recognize it. And because I have made the call for you to beloved Prince Orameses, and because the fiery angels of Prince Orameses are blazing their light rays through you, all this discordant and negative energy that has ever used your life must, you see, release its hold upon you. It is as though someone were to turn the handle of a great vice. And as this handle begins to turn and the screw begins to turn, there is a release of the jaws of that vice. And something that is locked within must let go. And as it releases itself, you must feel that freedom, that God freedom that knows only its allegiance to the light and its love to the presence and its love to all mankind and its dedicated purpose and its purity and its determination. The great ocean of divinity surrounds you now. The ocean of divinity, the resistless tides of infinite life flooding forth, surround the earth, soar through the universe with the cosmic light speed. And all that accept that call find new freedom and new hope in the ever-new joy, the ever-new bliss that is God, that knows that it is I am, that knows that I am God. Be still then, O restless human tides of energy. Be still, be still, be still, and know that I am God, that I am God, that I am God. Thank you. May the peace of the great white brotherhood abide with you always. I, Chananda, bless you eternally, sincerely, and with the full purity of the light itself. Good night. Angelic host, the joy to the world, which was expressed by the angelic host on the occasion of the Nativity of the Christ, was an occasion which flooded the entire planet with the choruses of the angelic hosts, and the joy that expressed in the heart of the shepherds leaped from heart to heart across the fields and plains, forests and mountains, until it entered in to the heart of even a tiny shepherd boy upon the hillsides of a land far across the sea. Precious ones of the light, you think nothing today of experiencing television programs and radio programs broadcast around the world. The wonders of a few years ago ceased to be wonders to your minds. But beloved ones, 2,000 years ago, this was a transcendent experience when the joy of the angels passed into the hearts of the shepherd and swept around the world, into the pages of history and into the consciousness of mankind. The martyrs of that era of early Christianity expressed their love through giving up their all. But the comfortable experiences of present-day Christianity are a far cry, beloved ones, from that era of sacrificial offering, when to take a stand for the light of God was almost tantamount to the loss of one's physical life. Today, beloved ones, the world knows more about the meaning of freedom. It knows more about the meaning of peace. It knows more about the grace of God. The intellectual comprehensions of mankind today have been expanded, and the theologians today understand more of the ancient scriptures. The arts of printing and communication have been enhanced and expanded until today the world is not the world of 2,000 years ago. And the multitudes have increased. Those who heard the words of the Christ as he walked among men 2,000 years ago upon the hillsides of Judea would be few today in comparison to the multitudes of the earth who are hungry and who are thirsting today for the living water of life. But that water of life is like a great river, and this very hour is being offered to all who are athirst, that they may drink. Individuals, through habits of thought and feeling, as this beloved one told you, have become somewhat recalcitrant. And they no longer realize the inner voice of their own mighty God presence. But they have heard the voices of discord and the voices of confusion of the world until the voice of the Christ seems far distant. But I am come today to charge into your midst the radiance that is familiar to your souls, the radiance that is your natural habitat, the light that will exalt you and raise you and comfort you, the light that will be a solace unto you when you seem to be separate one from another and from all forms of comfort. For the light of God will penetrate your consciousness as you lay upon your beds and cannot sleep, when the cares and oppressions of the world seem to press in upon you, and you find difficulty in finding peace. If you will turn your hearts toward the Christ and make a call unto him, he will respond, and with blazing light come into your force field to bring you that same peace and love which he brought to mankind long ago. You are dealing now, beloved ones, with immortality. You are dealing with the realm of the ascended masters. You are dealing with the compassion of heaven. It is no ordinary or mortal concept that comes to your mind, but it is the concept of life, the concept of eternal life, the concept of the grace of heaven. The grace of heaven, beloved ones, transcends history. It transcends the known world. It transcends your human thoughts. The grace of God is sufficient for you for every occasion which you may ever face. And with the waning of all human sensibilities, mankind will find the dawning of the cosmic sense, wherein they are able to cognize the nearness of the heavenly octaves and the spheres of light to their own consciousness. The tiny babe lifts its eyes toward its own God presence, and it smiles. And those individuals in the presence of that babe are pleased to see the smile upon the face of the child. But they do not know of the vision of the angels which appears to the tiny one much later in life, when familiarity with the world scene has closed the door and the curtain that separates the consciousness of the child from the wonders of heavenly spheres, those visions come then no more, and the child becomes a part of the mass consciousness, guided by parents, guided by teachers, guided by companions, many of whom are fit and many of whom are unfit to guide. The pressure then of mass consciousness builds up a synthetic man, not a manifestation of the eternal light, but a manifestation of carnality, destined to be confused, destined to confuse, and destined eventually to perish as an individual entity and pass from the screen of life. But this is not the plan of immortality, and God is immortal. God is immortal, and in his immortality there is peace and joy forever without end. The harshness of the world, the clanging furor of the tides of mortality do not comfort mankind, and therefore they run to and fro seeking peace, and no peace is given to them, and yet they continue to seek, for it is the great God self within that manifested in the cosmic sense in the tiny babe that must come to awaken. This cosmic sense, like a rosebud, must unfold. Like a lotus, it must breathe its perfume into space. When the consciousness of man begins to unfold, it becomes as a little child. And as it becomes as a little child, the entire glory of heaven becomes revealed to that individual. And man realizes that outer life has been a chimera, and that all that the eyes have seen and that the ears have heard is nothing to be compared to the wonders of the eternal spheres. I, Maitreya, come to you as a father would to his children, and I come to you today to breathe upon you concerning the cosmic sense, that you may awaken within yourselves to the glory of God which is present in space wherever you are. Individuals have the idea that God is far removed from them, but this God that I declare unto you today, beloved ones, is as near as your hands and feet, or as close as your heart and breath. The inflowing of the cosmic light within the body of man is a gift of the presence of God, which is perpetuated momentarily by the intelligence of heaven in action, the Christ mind, the divine power that beats your heart while you sleep, that gives to your physical consciousness, your body elemental, and your mind the understanding to govern all of the senses that control the body movements, both voluntary and involuntary, is a gift of God. Be grateful then, beloved ones, for this gift, but above all, be grateful for the gift that is the eyes of your soul, the hearing of your soul, the understanding of your heart. For you are not your garments that you wear. You are not these physical bodies. You are a living soul. At inner levels, you wear garments of immortality. And these are real and tangible. But because you have diverted your attention from the inner realm to the outer, You are not aware of the inner garments that you wear. And it is as though you were bereft of your attire. Pause now and think, beloved ones, what it means to be clothed upon with immortality. Beloved Hilarion, when St. Paul warned mankind of the fact that they must first put off mortality if they would put on immortality, I today admonish you, beloved ones of the light, that you likewise recognize the need to put off the mortal senses during those moments when you desire to awaken the senses of immortality. In the name of Almighty God, precious students of the light, if you are thinking of entertainment, if you are thinking of food, if you are thinking of some accomplishment that you wish to do in order to expand your own personality, during a time when you are trying to make attunement with your God self, how can you possibly make that attunement? You must then put off the consciousness of the outer man, of the human self. You must come in full faith to the fountain of Almighty God, believing that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him. This is a truth pursued of old by Enoch, pursued of old by every ascended master who ever made their ascension. This Christ-seeking must become the goal of man if he would awaken to all of the potency and power of the sacred fire. Beloved ones, some of you have idly dreamed of moments when you would be able to say to a man with a withered hand, "Be thou made whole." Some of you have idly dreamed of a moment when you could at a glance pass an individual on the street who was suffering from habitual drunkenness and be able to speak to that one at inner levels or outer levels and say, "Be thou free, be thou whole." Some of you, beloved ones, have been more ambitious, and you have dreamed of how you could reach out your hand as the Christ did and raise men from the dead. Well, beloved ones, this power is within you. But it is most important that you recognize that you as individuals must first put off the old man and his deeds. You must put off the consciousness of the world sense and put on the new mind of the Christ if you are to accomplish these specific feats, these cosmic graces, these cosmic gifts. These gifts are given to you. They are free, they are without money, they are without price. They are held for you now by your own mighty I Am presence, and they will manifest in your world, and no power in heaven or earth can possibly prevent their manifestation at that moment when you are ready to receive them. But, beloved ones, you cannot be made ready to receive them until you yourself have elected to open up the senses of heaven, to recognize the angelic host, to recognize the ascended masters, to recognize your own mighty I Am presence as the only power in your world. There is no other power but God. There is no other power that can act in your world but the power of God. I ask therefore now that you pause as I make contact with the beloved angelic host and ask them to pour their radiance into the chalices of your hearts. I ask that they saturate you with the pure light rays from their hearts, charged with the essences of roses and the fragrance of pine. I ask that you be made aware then of the sweetness of the soul of God that is within you, and of the eternal presence of God within you. The eternal presence of God within you is forever and forever and forever. It is without end. Therefore, accept this gift now from the angelic host that are part of my band of light. I ask you now to be at peace. If you wish, your musician may place some music. Children of the light, I want to remind you that each one of you were conceived by God. I want to remind you that you came not through the gate of birth by accident, but you came by conscious divine intent. I want to remind you that your life was as divinely intended a manifestation as was the birth of beloved Jesus and other great avatars. I want to remind you then that the hopes of heaven for you were and are great, that simply because individuals have permitted their own self-hope to become dim does not prevent the immortal concept of God from being held steadfast for every life stream. And it is this anchor, beloved ones of the light, that causes each man to feel the pull of immortality, leading him onward to seek to understand the great cosmic laws and the great cosmic light. I am known as the great initiator, and it is my responsibility to take interest concerning the unfoldment of the individual chelas in coming through the stages of initiation of the Great White Brotherhood. Today, as I gaze not only upon those life streams that are assembled within this room, but as I gaze upon the life streams of all humanity, I behold among mankind many who are ready for various stages of initiation. Some are ready for cosmic stages of initiation. Some are ready for less advanced stages of initiation. But many are making themselves ready by application to their own divinity. The bonds of divinity are so far greater than mortal concepts that it is sometimes difficult to bridge the gap between human words and mankind's ideas, so that they will understand the wonder of which I speak. Mankind today are plagued because of the fact that through the semantics of words, they do not always understand or conceive of the true power of the Word of God. But the Word of God is the progenitor of every individual within this place, upon this planet, and everywhere in the universe. This Word of God, beloved ones, is ever blessed. It is tangible and real. It is intelligent. It is light, and in it there is no shadow, nor is there a shadow of turning. Beloved ones, I would like to point out to some of you who are young in years, where shall mankind go? The apostles of the Christ said unto him, where shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life. And this is truth. The words of eternal life are given to the ascended masters by God. Individuals, beloved ones, have thought that God held all these secrets and all of his powers strictly for himself and the angelic band. They have not understood, that is, many among mankind have not understood, that God giveth gifts to the ascended masters, gifts of hierarchical power, whereby they are specifically charged with certain momentums of freedom, of obedience, of love. This is also true of the elemental kingdom. As you gaze upon the wonders of nature, beloved ones, have you ever stopped to consider that almost every tree and bush has an angelic or elemental being standing guard over it to see that it outpictures the perfect plan of God? Have you ever stopped to realize that just as each individual has a blessed guardian angel, so every manifestation of nature has some specific God intelligence which watches over that manifestation to see that it comes to fruition and to perfection? Well, beloved ones, then realize that your mighty I Am Presence, the great electronic body of God, from out the great central sun, came forth in dazzling, blazing light as a duplicate of the magnanimous, ever-expanding light of the mighty I Am Presence in the very heart of the great central sun, and was duplicated for each individual's own mighty I Am Presence. And this duplicate, beloved ones, is never separated from the central sun itself or from the presence of God within the great central sun, so that every man, woman, and child's mighty I Am Presence is one with everyone else's own mighty I Am Presence. This makes of all life one, and there is then no diversity whatsoever. And I am speaking now, beloved ones, concerning inner levels. For when you gaze outwardly, you behold individuals of various stages of development. You see them representing various age groups as far as physical aging processes are concerned. But, beloved ones, as you look on the inner, you see no such condition. You see only the perfection of God manifesting at every point in space where there is an individual life stream. Now that individual life stream, when that individual awakens to its own cosmic identity, will find that it is able to shake off the fetters of mortality and to become charged with the power of divinity. Well, when an individual awakens to the power of divinity, an initiate is born on the world scene. The star of Bethlehem appears in the cosmic sky for every life stream, and the star of that nativity of divinity is manifest to the ascended masters And immediately when they perceive this, they send forth a special protection to seal that life stream in the protection from the heart of God, coming down through the angelic hierarchy, presided over by Archangel Michael. Do you see, beloved ones, how great cooperation takes place at inner levels? How that at inner levels, the levels of the spirit of life, perfection and protection ever manifest. There are 3 people within this room who within the past week would have left this earth if it were not for the protection of their own mighty I Am Presence and their guardian angel. One of them is somewhat aware of it. The other 2 are not. But I would like to point this out to you, beloved ones, because you do not realize just when you may need the perfection and the protection of your own God presence. Oh, beloved ones, what conceit and what vanity is present in human consciousness. And yet, beloved ones, we are not here to condemn you, for you are children of the light, and you were born to receive the glory of that birthright. We are here to assist you, and we are ever here to bless you. We will not forsake you. Your mighty I Am Presence will not forsake you. Every ascended master and cosmic being will stand by you, through thick, as you might say it, and through thin, so long as you yourself are consciously willing to do your best to accept the plan of God, to understand the plan of God, to walk circumspectly as much as you are able. Beloved ones, God is no tyrant. Your mighty I Am Presence is no tyrant. I would say that your presence has been most lenient. The presence of life has been most lenient to all mankind. But, beloved ones, although the presence has given men their freedom, they have not enjoyed God's universe with that freedom, simply because the freedom which they have enjoyed, they have made into fetters. It is the intention of God to see to it that those fetters are cut, and that mankind are set free from every condition that binds them to the continual round of rebirth, and that they experience those cosmic initiations which cut them free from the power of death. Beloved ones, what is death? You understand what life is, but life, beloved ones, cannot end, for life itself is a quality. How can a quality cease to be? And inasmuch as you, beloved ones, have life, how can you cease to be? I ask you in the holy name of God. How can you cease to be? Precious ones, that which mankind know as death is only the end of a cycle. And when that cycle comes, it merely means the beginning of a new cycle. And this continual round, as circles within circles and wheels within wheels, is a manifestation of the divine intelligence and the life plan of God. But God intends mankind to have continuity of consciousness. And therefore today I would like to point out a very specific principle to the students. Precious ones, at the end of each embodiment, in mercy, the door of memory is sealed, so that the life stream coming into embodiment in most cases does not recall the events of its past life except dimly. But, beloved ones of the light, that is not the intention of God. God intends men to have an unbroken, continuous, conscious knowledge that they are. I ask you right now to ponder and consider the meaning of I am. I am, beloved ones, means being, and it means existence, and it means bliss. Well, beloved ones, if it means existence and bliss, then that existence cannot be broken or interspersed by a series of experiences whereby you do not know anything, whereby you no longer are aware of yourself, whereby you are in shadow or darkness. For God is all light, and therefore because he is all light, he would bestow upon every son of himself a continuous experience. I ask you, beloved ones, if any of you are aware of the experiences of beloved Jesus during the 3 days, from the time they removed his body from the cross until he rose again. Do you recall the scriptures? How that it records that during the time when he was taken down from the cross until the time of his resurrection, that he preached to the spirits of those who were disobedient during the days of Noah? Well, beloved ones, I think then, if the Christ preached to the spirits which were disobedient in the days of Noah, that he must have experienced an unbroken consciousness. And I cannot conceive that the Christ who spoke to the thief beside him and said, "Today thou shalt be with me in paradise," was himself no longer conscious of God or aware of life. The Christ was continuously aware of life, and as part of the great initiatic experiences that come to mankind, there is an unbroken series whereby an individual is aware of God morning, noon, and night. Through the night, at all times, an individual is never without consciousness. They are always conscious, either in the outer or the inner. And therefore many of our initiates are assembling during the night hours while their physical body sleeps, and they move in their white robes throughout the earth to assemble in sacred retreats and places set apart, that they might be instructed at inner levels concerning the great cosmic laws by great cosmic masters and by cosmic teachers. For it is a part of the plan of God to educate mankind continually until men are indeed as wise as gods. It is not the plan of God to keep men in ignorance or to keep men victims of untruth, but rather to illuminate mankind by the glory of the mighty I Am Presence, so that the spirit of the great white brotherhood will be revered by all men upon earth, and will be a living spirit of the living Christ in action among men. How can this be, precious ones, except it be a personal experience of each individual? Beloved ones, when an individual came into manifestation as a tiny babe, that individual in time came to recognize its own father and mother and members of its household. So it is of the spirit of light. When an individual becomes as a babe in Christ, aware of the ascended masters, although dimly, there is a gradual expansion of consciousness until at last that individual is able to walk and talk with the ascended masters and the cosmic beings as freely as you have your social familiarity here among mankind. And this is as it should be. For the patriarchs of old communed with the angels, communed with the cosmic beings, and this will happen to you. And eventually, precious ones, you will find that heaven is all around you, and the roses of heaven will blossom at your feet. The fragrance of heaven will penetrate your body and your mind. The light of heaven will lift you up in consciousness until you will feel at home beneath the stars, for you will know that they are points of light within this mighty universe of light. You will know that there are points of light, chakras within your body and centers of light, and that in time all of these points of light will blend into one beautiful star, the star of initiation, whereby you are able to pass through the star doorway and commune with nature, with the elementals, with the angelic host. You will no longer be possessed with a mere sense of a physical body and the limitations of that body. You will be able to leave the body at will, and you will be able to move anywhere upon this planet or upon many planets at will. And you will find a freedom from fear, from bondage, from the need to partake of food, from the need to be subject to natural and man-made laws in an ordinary sense, for you will become subject to the great cosmic laws, and these transcend all other laws. Precious ones of the light, the goal is mighty. The race needs the help of the ascended masters. This we are willing to give. We ask that you make the call within yourself. We do not ask that you necessarily make the statement before mankind concerning your inner intentions. Those of you who may be timid today and may not quite recognize the voice of the Good Shepherd, I ask you tonight, before you close your eyes in sleep, that you make a call to God, to your own mighty I Am presence, and that you ask Him to guide your footsteps, that you may understand the power of light, the power of the ascended masters, the power of the Christ in action, and that you consciously elect to further your progress in the things of the Spirit, that this which passeth away, these former things, be no longer cleaved to, but that you anchor within the veil in that permanent God consciousness that no man can take from you. And then you will be a part of our band, and you will have begun in newness of life, in renewing the consciousness of the atoms and electrons of your body, in charging yourself with the sacred fire. You will be eventually victors, not vanquished. I thank you and bid you good evening.